TitleMatchNetwork.com.
What led you to going back Slamboree in Philadelphia with Terry Funk? How did that come about? You said there was heat earlier.
Oh, they called me and wanted me to do it. I mean, asked me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They'd called me a couple years earlier, and I guess I think my motivation more was a personal thing of, can I do it still?
Right.
Was my career, there wasn't a good ending to my career. Maybe. I really haven't analyzed that personally yet.
Left on top.
I left on top, and that is probably awesome because nobody remembers me anything else than that. Even the few times I've done independent stuff is still on top, even though I've done some jobs and made some people mad. Or not done some jobs and made some people mad. But the thing with WCW, they called and asked me to do it. They paid me $2,500. I said, great. All my expenses.
Right.
Okay. So I got in shape to do it, and I figured I'd go up there and look good, that they might offer me a contract. Flair was booking and everything. I said, so I went up there in shape. I mean, I was ready to roll.
Right.
And I get there, and they walk up and say, how do you want to do it? I said, how do you want to do what? Well, put Terry over. Well, Terry's, in the meantime, gone from a Legends match and then cut himself a contract, which is neither here nor there. But nobody called me, nobody told me in advance that's what they wanted.
Right.
And I said, nobody's asked me to put him over, and I'm not going to.
Right.
Unfortunately, I was a bigger star in Philadelphia than Terry.
Right.
And Terry's mindset was still me, the college boy, living at his house when he was the world champion. Well, Philadelphia, he might have been king of ECW at that time, and row 4 of section on the front row, but the other 6,000 people in there were full Horsemen fans. And on pay-per-view, I wasn't going to do it because I travel and make a money. If you want something from me, ask me in advance.
Right.
I'm not just going to. Doing a job has never been a problem, getting beat. But it was always for a reason. I mean, I never just went out to get beat. I mean, I don't need a job that bad. I don't need to be a wrestler that bad. And so they were furious. Terry was. Whenever Terry starts to click, he's really mad. He's really mad and keeping it suppressed. And they were all mad. Bischoff was mad. Flair was mad. But nobody ever talked to me. I mean, they sent Bill Dundee over to me. My gosh. And, so I mean, they paid me, and I went out, and Terry tried to guzzle me, and I kept getting up from his pile drivers and backflips, and it was kind of humorous. Actually, I never saw a videotape of it, but it was kind of humorous, I thought. I wasn't going to go out there. I wasn't a job guy. I never was a job guy in this business. Never will be. And this is what drove me to interject this in right here, is I never wanted anybody to ever say Tully Blanchard got a push because his dad was a promoter. I never wanted to be talked about like Goulas's kid, and I never met him. Wouldn't know him if I walked up on the street today. I never wanted anybody to ever say that Tully Blanchard did not deserve his spot, right, even in my own towns. And likewise, I was very seldom the main event. I was always second or third down the road. I deserved a push because I performed. But
all right, from there you talked about you left the Southwest, you went to Bob Geigel's promotion. How did you wind up with Crockett?
Well, St. Louis ran like Houston ran. St. Louis always booked its own thing just for St. Louis once every, I think, 3 weeks. And a lot of the undercard always came from Kansas City because I think Geigel and Harley had a piece of St. Louis. I'm not sure. And so that helped their under guys get money and got them on a big show. So in the 1st of January or the end of January or the middle of January, sometime in January, I was booked in St. Louis. And I'd been doing a little thing on their TV with Buzz Tyler. And we went out and tore the house down. And I'd already known Jimmy because I'd already worked in North Carolina, but never as a main event type guy. Well, this was 7 years later, and I had wrestled countless times with Wahoo and countless times with Buddy Roberts, who was Dale Valentine, and had John Valentine critique every match, every move. And you wrestle Wahoo 500 times, and you wrestle and have Johnny Valentine critique your matches every night. You're an absolute idiot, unteachable if you don't learn something. Well, I'm very teachable, and I learned a whole lot because those guys were successful every place they ever went. They weren't just successful in a region. So the people that the people that I imitated in my career were the ones that were successful every place, not just in a certain area. And there were a lot of those guys in the business at that time.
As far as, because you were never a huge guy, and back in the 80s you had to be a monster to, what do you contribute your success to?
Doing it right. Having the proper vision every night. My goal every night was to steal the show. And I would venture to say that's not most guys' vision anymore. And my long-term goal was to be the best performer that this business has ever seen. The most believable, the most legitimate, the most entertaining, the most energetic. And don't know if I ever got there, but I might have got close to the top.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.